Asalamu'alaikum all, welcome back to my channel. I pray that you are all in the best of health and iman. If you are new, welcome. My name is Nafisa. I am a Muslimah life coach and I support Muslim women with relationship and mental health issues. So if you're interested in being coached in those areas, you can find me over on my website, which I will leave linked in the description box down below. But over here on YouTube, I make Islamic lifestyle as well as dawah content. So if you're interested in that, then definitely make sure you hit that subscribe button down below. So girls, today's video is mistakes married Muslims make. Now, I'm going to go easy on my married Muslims here because I think being a wife is such a thankless job when it comes to other human beings recognizing the amount of effort that it takes to run a home and to be responsible for children and to fulfill your husband's needs. So I want to start by saying, sisters, if you do all of this with an intention of pleasing Allah, it becomes an act of worship. Okay, and so Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the one that will reward you for everything that you are doing, because I think you guys are doing an amazing job. The first mistake that I as a relationship coach have noticed that some single Muslim women make is that they neglect their looks. And I've said this for single Muslims, but when it comes to you married Muslims, it's on a whole nother level. And I get it, because you're busy, you have so much on your plate. You need to take care of the kids, you need to take care of the house, you need to take care of your husband's needs. And then there is you as well. There's just so much to juggle, and I understand. But having said that, I just want to give you guys a little bit of confidence boost to say that you also deserve to be prioritized, okay? It's going to take a little bit of trying to be smart about the way you use your time and trying to be a little bit more proactive with how you use your time. But I want you to try to find some time to take care of your physical appearance. One of the things I really want you to focus on is exercising. I know, the dreaded E word. I want you girls to focus on exercising, because exercising is so good for your mental wealth and your mental well-being, and it's something that is often neglected by a lot of married Muslims that I have come across, again because of the excuse of them being so busy. Now, I want you to think about your timetable and how your life normally runs on a daily and also weekly basis, and I want you to try to find either 20-minute slots twice a week, or maybe even if all you can afford to do is once a week, let's say on a Sunday maybe, then take that 1 hour or 30 minutes just for you to exercise. That might mean picking a day that your husband is at home, because, you know, at the end of the day, you made these babies together and he kind of needs to contribute in making sure that you have a little bit of time for yourself as well. Half an hour is not going to kill anyone. He could look after them whilst they're all watching TV together or whatever it is, playing games or whatever, right? So you can have a little bit of time to take care of you. So that's exercising. The other thing that I really want you girls to put into mind is taking care of your physical appearance in terms of just stop wearing abayas around the house all day long and the granny clothes. I know they're comfortable. I know, because I used to be that woman that would just be walking around the house with like abayas all the time because it was just easy. And then I had to tell myself the truth and just be like, girl, this is a bad habit. So especially for you sisters who are already married, keep in mind that you're living with your husband, especially in a non-Muslim country. Every time he steps outside of the house, he needs to fight his own nafs to keep his gaze lowered and not look at other women who are dressed in any kind of way, right? And then when he comes home, you should be the one giving him something to look at because you're his halal option, right? So what I want you sisters to do is to drop the abayas, like I've said, put them back in the cupboard, okay? Wear them when you need to go out of the house or when you need to pray or when there's guests around the home. But in other times, invest in some nice loungewear. Invest in some nice trousers, maybe jeggings or whatever. A nice fitted shirt or a nice fitted top. A variety of those that you can wear around the house. If you have children, I understand that you're going to need to tweak this a little bit so that you're not exposing too much around the children. But wear something nice around the house, please. I'm going to have to stand up for my brothers when it comes to this one, because I kind of feel sorry for some of them. I really do, because some of us sisters, we've got into this habit of just being quote unquote modestly dressed, even environments when we don't need to be modestly dressed. And in front of your husband is that place where you don't need to be modestly dressed. So especially if you don't have children, please invest in some quality loungewear that you can wear around the house that shows your shape a little bit more, girls. So that's one thing. Another thing that you can do in terms of clothing is invest in lingerie. I know I am going there. Invest in some nice lingerie. They don't have to cost the world. They don't have to cost everything. Just maybe have like two, 3 to 4 pieces of nice lingeries that every now and again you can switch things up and wear, right? You can have your usual undergarments that are comfortable and all of that. But when you shower at night and you're about to go to bed, you can have nice lingerie to wear. Another thing also is nice nightwear. And I actually recommend Shein for nice and affordable nightwear. If you're looking for things that are like satin and really pretty kind of nightwear, I highly recommend Shein. This is not a sponsored video, but I buy a lot of my nightwear from Shein in terms of like the satin types of things, and I just think they're super affordable for what you get. But if you want to go a little bit more up a notch and you want to go in the kind of like a natural fabric realm, you can go for silks, right? A nice silk nightgown or nice silk robe, things like that. And you can buy it from companies like Lily Silk that I've worked with before. You guys saw I have a robe from them. So you can buy nice nightwear from places like that, and I think those would be really good for those of you who have children who can't necessarily wear certain things around the house with the kids being around, but you can also give him a little bit of spice by having those nice lingerie and nice nightwear that you can wear when you're in the room with your husband. The second mistake that some married Muslims make is not communicating their intimate needs with their husbands. And I think somewhere along the lines of being quote unquote modest, some women feels like it's even wrong for them to state their intimate needs to their husbands. So they let their husbands run the show, which is generally what happens. But your husband running the show doesn't mean that you can't communicate your needs. You communicating your intimate needs, your physical intimate needs with your husband is not haram, okay? The act of physical intimacy is meant to be enjoyable for the both of you. Now, there is a way to do it in which you can still come across as two mature adults having a conversation about something that's important to the both of you, where you're not criticizing him to saying you never do this for me and this is not good enough for me and I'm never pleased by you. You don't want to do it that way. You want to always put the person before the point, right? So consider his feelings and do it very gently. But if he's not meeting your physical intimate needs in one way or another, you do need to communicate that. And communicating that doesn't mean that you're loose or that, your desires are too high and, all of these taboos that surrounding physical intimacy, especially in some Muslim communities. We really need to put that aside. He is your halal husband now. And so you can have these discussions and it's okay to have these discussions, and your needs do matter as well. Yes, the hadith says that if your husband needs you, you should respond to him. But actually, he also has a responsibility in making sure that you're satisfied. It's just as important for the both of you to be satisfied in that realm so that the both of you can, lower your gaze and maintain your chastity in terms of not going outside of your marriage. So sisters, don't be too shy to discuss these things with your husbands, and it doesn't make you a promiscuous woman just because you have certain desires that you want to communicate to him. Just make sure that is done in a way that is respectful and in a way that honors him, as well as you just making him say, hey, listen, it would be more satisfying for me if you would consider doing X, Y, and Z during that time, okay? So don't be the one that makes the mistake of holding back and you never communicate your intimate needs because you're just going to end up being resentful, your husband is going to end up not being enough for you, then that's when people start looking outside because they're not pleased with what's happening within their marriages, and we don't want that to happen. The next mistake that some married Muslims make is being too dependable on their husbands for financial security. Girls, we need to talk. Okay, we need to talk. From one sister to another sister, here's the reality of our position as Muslims and your position as a married Muslimah. In Islam, God forbid, and nobody ever goes into marriage hoping for a divorce. Or at least I hope that's not what's happening, right? But in the case of a divorce, because divorce is halal in Islam, even though it's one of the most hated of the halal things, sometimes it is the best option, okay? And so in the case of a divorce, your husband, the only thing he owes you is 3 menstrual cycles worth of upkeep. For most women, that's going to be 3 months. And I'm saying 3 menstrual cycles because that's how it's described. So if a woman's menstrual cycle, if she only has her menstrual cycle once every 6 months, poor brother, he needs to be providing for her for the next year and a half. But for most women, they have their menstrual cycles every month. So for most women, all that they're going to be entitled to is financial upkeep for 3 months after he divorces her. If she is pregnant, he has to upkeep her financially until she gives birth, and then he has to, of course, be providing for the child. And so there are special cases like that. But for the most part, if you're not pregnant and you're not breastfeeding and so on, he only owes you 3 months worth of iddah. Now, if you know that your parents are old and you can't go back to live with your parents, or you know that your parents are dependent on you, or you know that you have no family members who will be able to take you in the case of a divorce, it's very silly, okay, to say the least. It's very silly to be completely dependent on your husband, knowing that you have nothing that belongs to you. So my thing here is, really, I would prefer that women save up before they get married. So in case you get married and your husband says he wants you to stay at home, then you won't have an issue because you already know that you have some income in the bank for rainy day in case you ever do end up in that situation of being divorced. But if you know that you're in a situation where you're looking after kids and you're not in a position to be able to work, then you need to think about, God forbid, but if anything should happen between my husband and I, how would I survive? This is something that you really take into consideration because nobody knows tomorrow. And it's sad that I have to mention this, but the reality is about half of marriages are ending up in divorce. And I was reading an article the other day about divorces in Muslim countries, and the rate at which divorce is happening is increasing so rapidly that is quite shocking. And this is amongst Muslim societies. So it's something that we shouldn't neglect. And what I'm saying here is you kind of need to have a plan B for, God forbid, if something should happen to you and your husband should divorce you. What would you do to survive? Because he owes you nothing. And that is something that you have to worry about more so than if your husband was to die and leave you. Because if your husband was to die and leave you, you have a right to inheritance, okay? But if your relationship doesn't end because of death, if it ends because of divorce, all you're entitled to is 3 months. Now, some people might hear that and think, well, Islam sounds like it's a very unfair religion to women. It's not. One of the reasons why this also makes sense is because in Islam, the money that a woman earns is absolutely her money. She doesn't have to spend a penny of it on her family if she doesn't want to. If she chooses to spend her earnings on her family's upkeep, that is an act of charity that she's choosing to do. She doesn't have to do it. Now, I know in reality, most Muslim women do contribute to the upkeep of their family, just because they know that the husband can't maintain the house by himself because the cost of living just keeps going higher and higher. Now, if that is your case, but you are working, I would say save some money. Okay, sis, save some money, because again, your money is your money. And if you can save it or you can invest it, then you know that you have a safety cushion. Because sometimes some women end up being stuck in abusive marriages because they can't leave, because they have nowhere else to go, because they can't afford to go anywhere else. They can't even afford to pay rent for a month. And so they get stuck in these abusive marriages. And I don't want that to happen to you, sister. The fourth mistake that some married Muslims make is that they complain about their husbands to people outside and forget to complain to Allah. Now, why am I saying this is a mistake? Because for the most part, most people can't help you in your situation. There are certain people that may be able to help you, and sometimes maybe all you want is the validation of how you feel about a certain situation that you're experiencing in your marriage. But just speaking to anybody and everybody out there and just bad mouthing your husband to everyone might not help you. So you might want to speak to someone who is wise. You might want to speak to a counselor. You might want to speak to a religious counselor that you trust and you know has a level head when it comes to marriage. Because I'm sorry, some of these religious Muslim counselors are just not, telling women to have sabr when her husband is beating her black and blue. I mean, things like that is just abuse in my eyes. So when I say someone with a level head is someone who really understands what abuse is and can tell you the truth when you're being abused. So some people, it can be right to share that with, and sometimes very important to share with other people what you're going through. But for the most part as well, I think as Muslim women, we neglect Allah in the equation. And I want to bring out the story of Hawla. Hawla was a woman in the times of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam who was nicknamed the woman whose dua Allah responded to. She had a situation with her husband, and her husband became very upset with her, and he started calling her names, and he referred to her and using the comparison, using a statement that compared her to his mother. So basically he was saying to her, "You're like my mother." Now he had been with her for a very long time, and now she had become slightly old, and that was a statement that he said to kind of, dismiss her and to put her down. And this was a believing man. And so Hawla came to the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam to complain about this. And when she came and she brought her complaint, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala responded. And Allah said that he heard the complaint of the one who complained. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was referring to Hawla. And Allah responded by revealing a verse of the Quran where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that indeed Allah heard the statement of her that disputes with you, O Muhammad, concerning her husband and complains to Allah. And Allah hears the argument between you both. Verily, Allah is all hearer, all seer. Surah Al-Mujadila, verse 1. Husband of Hawla, for the mean things that he said to her, he would have to pay back, right? So it's either he had to fast a certain number of days or that he had to pay a certain amount. I can't remember the story specifically, but I will review that story once again for you guys at some point on this channel, because I think it's such an inspirational story. Because sometimes us women, we are abused in some of these marriages. And unfortunately, some so-called Muslim men will try to use their position to abuse women. Some, not all, there are plenty of good Muslim men out there. But unfortunately, there are the few who may use the deen to manipulate and maltreat women despite them saying that they are believers. And these are the type of men that need to hear the story of Hawla and how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala stood up for her. And so I would want you guys to remember in the lesson of that story that Allah hears your prayers. He knows the pain you're going through. He knows the difficulty you're going through. So when you're going through an injustice in your marriage, where your husband is not doing you right, you have the absolute right to complain to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You do. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will hear you. And really, truly, He is the only one that can hold your husband into account. If your husband is not afraid of anybody, nobody can talk to him. Apparently, he's nobody should get involved in his marriage and X, Y, and Z. He want to do whatever he wants. And if he feels that oppressing you is part of what he has a right to do as a Muslim man, then you need to take that complaint to Allah, because Allah is first and foremost your wali. So please stop over blabbering about your husband to people on the outside who can't do anything, and take the situation to Allah. Having said that, I don't want some of you guys to think that I'm now saying don't ever tell anybody when you're going through a difficulty. No, but tell the right people. Tell the right people who can help you and advise you correctly. But at the same time, also take your complaint to Allah, because ultimately He's the only one that can see you through successfully. And the last, but certainly not the least, mistake that I believe married Muslim women make is sometimes they blame the other woman when their husband show up and tell them that they want to take another wife. So yes, in Islam, polygamy is acceptable. And I feel like sometimes the first or the second wife or the previous wives, they blame the next woman for when the husband comes and says, I want to marry another woman. Girls, we know men. We know men. Even Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that He's going to give them other wives in Jannah. Okay, they have this insatiable desire for women. That's one of the things they love the most. And Islam allows for a man to marry more than one wife, up to 4, if he's able to meet the conditions, and there are conditions. So when he comes to tell you that, for the most part, trust and believe that nobody's forcing this man to take another wife, okay? Most of the time, these married men, they are the ones going out to seek for another woman, okay? They're the ones going out to seek for another sister to marry. A lot of the times, it's not even the sister who's pushing herself on him. It's the other way round, okay? So don't automatically assume that this other woman is the one that's taking your husband. What you have to do is question your husband as to why he feels the need, because in Islam it is a man that marries a woman. It's not a woman that marries a man. So if your husband really doesn't want to take another wife, he wouldn't be taking one. And that is a really difficult reality for a lot of married Muslims to accept, that this is really happening. It's easier to want to blame somebody else for it, okay? And again, I'm not saying that there aren't women out there who are specifically trying to, they're looking for someone's home to ruin, right? But I would hope to think that there aren't Muslims out there who have this mindset, because at least here in the West where I live, and I live in the UK, most women are not really, they don't choose to practice polygamy. Like, they don't choose to want to be part of polygamy. But some do, and some are more than happy to do that. But I just don't want you, as the already wife, to always blame the other woman for taking your husband away. Sometimes it's just not the case, A man can't be taken away. He's the one that's willingly taking himself to that place, So bear that in mind, and just try to understand the situation a bit more, and don't jump into conclusions of assuming that she's the one that's trying to steal your husband away from you, because 9 times out of 10, I'm sorry, but it's the man that is pursuing her. It's tough reality, but it's the reality. So take it easy on your fellow sister, and try to process your situation and make a decision that is best for you and your family. So sisters, those are the mistakes that I have noticed that married Muslims make. If you guys have any more to add to this list, then go ahead and do so. I understand it is not easy to be married. It is not easy to maintain a home, and it is not easy to put yourself first, or to remember Allah, or to remember to be just in certain situations. But nonetheless, marriage completes half of your deen. Personally, I think one of the reasons why that quote exists is because it takes a lot of work to make marriage work, because you're working and dealing with other people and fulfilling other people's rights and needs. So I hope you guys have benefited somehow from this video, inshallah. If you know of any married Muslimah out there that would benefit from hearing the contents of today's video, then please make sure you share this video with them. And inshallah ta'ala, I will see you guys in my next one. Assalamualaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.